everyone. I welcome you all to the next guest session under the Founders in Honor initiative by the Entrepreneurship Club of the Placement Cell SRCC. This club is dedicated to stimulating entrepreneurial learning and providing enhanced opportunities through action and experience. Today, we are honored to have with us Mr. Pranav Bajaj, the co-founder of Medulance, a company born with a plan to make safe and hygienic ambulances available for a largely unaware Delhi by using its simple location-based mapping. Mr. Pranav is a proficient entrepreneur skilled in business development, marketing strategy, sales operation, and sales management. Recently, he was also given recognition and a chance to represent India in Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia 2021. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Manvi, for having me here. You can call me Pranav. And yeah, as I said, that it's a pleasure to be here. And SRCC is something I always wanted to go to your college myself. And as I said, thank you for having me.
Right, sir. Pleasure. So now I think we can formally start with the interview. The flow will be such that we will have 3 segments, starting with the questions pertaining to your organization, followed by a rapid fire round and a few closing questions.
Sure.
So, sir, the very first question that we have for you is, what inspired you to start this company and how did you come up with the name Medulance? Like, what is the significance of this name?
So I think the bug of entrepreneurship, right, and wanting to do something individually was always there, with me right from my school days. However, I feel I lost the silver lining somehow during college, right, because everyone was talking about jobs, placements, CTC, and the environment in my time was very different. And also, I got an opportunity to work with Zomato right after college in 2012. Which is one of India's leading unicorns now. I think the time I spent at Zomato, also working with one of the finest talents in the country at that time. And later, even the booming startup environment in the country, I think shaped my desire to venture out.
Right. And what about the significance of the name? Like, what
Significance of the
made
name,
you?
right? So I don't know, not a lot of people know this, but we initially started a company called Life Hover, which used to do the same thing, but the company was called Life Hover. So we were that obvious about it, right? And later on, we realized that people weren't able to pronounce the name properly and, found it difficult. So we shifted to Medulance. The idea was to keep it very simple, related to a healthcare medical background, yet reflecting that we are in the medical transportation of the ambulance space. And hence called it Medulance with our motto of assisting lives.
Right. Thank you. That very well explained the inspiration behind your company as well as the significance of this name. So moving on to the next question. Is there any specific reason behind you choosing this particular hospital and healthcare sector for your organization?
So I would say that, all of us have seen an ambulance, right, stuck in traffic. And you might have wondered at times if the patient inside the ambulance reached the hospital on time, or if the ambulance reached the patient on time, right? Words like unreliable, unresponsive, unregulated, unorganized are closely associated with the emergency response in the medical transportation space in our country. Also, my co-founder of Jyot, he lost his grandfather back in 2010 due to the unavailability of ambulances. So I think, all of these factors really pushed us to start working on this problem, right? Especially when platforms like Ola and Uber had come in, right? We realized how they've taken advantage of something as simple as geolocation, proliferation of smartphones. That time people were also talking about digitization of health records, right? So we thought that if they've taken advantage of something as simple as geolocation to solve this problem, why can't we do the same to shave minutes of the response time? We also started off as a very small organization, starting a private ambulance service, working out of a co-working space. I remember in Shapur Jat, right? And that's when, all of this actually started to come together. And in the days that followed, I think we also learned a lot about the gaps that were there in the industry to actually help and improve our offerings for the people.
Right. I think that indeed gives a clear picture of the rationale behind you choosing the healthcare sector for your company. The next question that we have is, What were the challenges that you faced in the course of establishing your organization, and how did you overcome them?
To begin with, I think it is very important to note that Ravjot and I are not from a medical background, right? So, we are not doctors, and we don't have any healthcare experience, had any healthcare experience previously. As I said, I myself was working in Zomato, right, which is related, which is in the food business. And Ravjot, my co-founder, was working a lot of entrepreneurial ventures at that time. So we had to spend a lot of time, I would say, in understanding the nuances of the industry, right? Uh, could you just also tell me, you we wanted me to talk about the challenges, right?
Right, the challenges that you
Yes,
faced in the course of establishing your
yes, yes,
organization.
yes. So as I said, that both of us were not part of the medical background. We spent a lot of time, and also I would say that there were a lot of challenges because we realized that there were lack of awareness and no technology being used in emergency response at that time, right, which were not allowing people to get access to quick and reliable emergency care. Also, we realized there was a problem with finding high quality emergency medical technicians, right? These are paramedics that could act as first responders or medical technicians inside the ambulance, which was another challenge altogether. Um, Even after launching, where we launched a mobile app where people could quickly find ambulances close to them, we realized that it is very difficult to build a top of mind recall, right, in our industry, because it's not a service that you require very often. I know times today with the pandemic happening seem very different, right? But to be honest, this is something you might require tomorrow in an emergency case, so you might not need an ambulance in the next 6 to 7 years, right? So it becomes very difficult to build a top of mind recall. Having said that, we also realize that voice of trust is something which is very important in the industry. So we also focused on building simultaneously a helpline, right, where people could call and reach out to us, because it's very important to understand the kind of medical condition that they are in, the kind of ambulance that they require, depending on the medical condition, which sometimes just a mobile app cannot solve. Uh, so these were some of the challenges that we faced, is what I would say. From a business point of view, we learned, I think, very quickly. We moved from just a pure B2C model to even working with organizations today, right, to actually ensure that we can build a top of mind recall in the industry, right? And I think that was something which was very important, because we wanted to go a little bit beyond from just people thinking about this as a social service to actually business that could impact millions of lives, right? Which is something that we really want to do.
Right. Thank you for elaborating your challenges so well. And amidst these challenges, there are times when you tend to feel that you don't feel like moving ahead. There are times when you feel totally gone, like there are breakdowns and everything. So, what was
Yes.
the driving force that kept you going?
Absolutely. I think that's a very good question, right? And as I said, the driving force is always, for me or an organization, is always the team, right? As I said, I think we've been very lucky to have built a very good team. Also, I feel that when times have not been good for us, it's very important to have a motivated co-founder, also friends and family to support you. Having said that, I think we have a very young, dedicated, and a committed team at Medulance across business functions, who's trying to work together on a day-to-day basis, right, to ensure that we provide a very, I would say, efficient service, and also keep customer satisfaction as our top priority.
Right, absolutely, that makes sense. So, now moving on to the next question. How do you take out time for yourself amidst your hectic work schedules? And how important do you think it is to have hobbies and interests?
I think it's very important to have, or vital actually, to have hobbies and interests, right? Because it helps you take your mind off a lot of work related activities at times, right? And also contribute to positive mental health and also physical fitness at times, depending on what your hobbies is. Personally, I find a lot of solace in playing tennis. I know the lockdowns happened again, but previously when the lockdown was happening, I used to ensure that I'm playing tennis almost 4 to 5 days a week on my terrace, ensuring that it contributes to my physical and mental well-being, and I think it's very important, you know, to be doing this at all times. And apart from that, I think you know, you could have varied interests, varied hobbies across, which is something which is very important to actually just, as I said, keep your mind off work-related things.
Right. I think that also explains the importance of balancing work and life. Especially to us youngsters, we find ourselves caught up in our lives so much that it becomes important to balance our work with our extracurriculars and hobbies and everything.
I actually completely understand that. I think the problem was same with uh, me, or you know, many of the people, many of my friends, or you know, people I used to work with, study with, which was something that used to happen. But over the years, you realize that it's more and more important, and finding that time, right, is very important and relevant, and it really helps you.
Right, absolutely. Now, moving on to the next segment, that is the rapid fire segment. We hope you enjoy answering these questions as much as we do asking them to you.
Yes.
And the first question that we have is, what would you say are the top three skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur, or for that matter, an organizational leader?
I do not know about successful entrepreneur, I would say, right? But I can talk about what an entrepreneur should have, right? Because there is no guarantee of success depending on even if you have good qualities, right? And you know, maybe resilience, uh, patience, adaptability, and quick decision making. I think is something which is very important.
All right. And moving on to the next
But
question,
they're not
if
three
you were to
states, there
write,
may be four that I spoke about, but yeah.
yeah, moving on to the next question, if you were to write a book about you and your organization, what would you name it?
I think it's a little early to talk about a book that I would write about me or my organization, but you know, as I said,
Let's consider a hypothetical
it could be
situation, and
life in
if
the
you had,
fast lane, maybe.
all right, wow, great. That's very different yet relevant. Moving on to the next question. Could you name a few industries which you feel would be booming in the future and the youth should focus on them a lot?
Yes, I think healthcare, education, and sports.
Right. I think our listeners and our budding entrepreneurs can definitely take note of these industries. Another question that we have for you in the rapid fire segment is, what are the must read books for a college student from the entrepreneurial perspective?
This is a trick question for me also. I tell you why, because I know everyone feels that if entrepreneurs read a lot of books, and I think everyone should read books, right? Because they bring in a lot of value. I personally, you know, I know the importance of reading books, but I do not actually read a lot of books. But you know, I do try and find time to read a few. A few that I can think about is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, uh, Zero to One by Peter Thiel, and maybe The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Right.
But
Thank you
as
so
I
much
said, you
for,
know, I am not the right person. So please, college students or otherwise could actually make their own choices. These are some of the books that I could think about. But as I said, I'm sure there are a lot of books out there that everyone should read.
yeah, irrespective of that fact, I'm still sure that your advice is going to be valuable for us too. Because there are going to be many students who will actually be able to relate to your position. Like, not everyone is as interested in reading books and everything. So, yeah.
Correct, correct. And I feel simultaneously a lot of documentaries or information on the web today also helps. And you know, maybe information can be taken from there.
Thank you so much for sharing such insightful answers. Now we'll move on to the last segment of this interview. The first question that we have for you here is, if you had the chance to start your career all over again, is there anything that you would do differently?
One thing that I would do differently is maybe follow my gut and passion, and maybe not take a lot of advice from people, and change my path based on that. So I feel it's very important to follow your gut and passion at times. And I think situations or people sometimes around your advice that you get does not allow you to do that. But I think it's very important, and that's something I might have could have changed.
Sure. I think our budding entrepreneurs, even they can consider this an advice while they are yet to start their own companies and organizations. Now, the next question that we have is, where do you see your company in the next 5 years, or what do you wish your company to achieve in the coming years?
So basically, I'll tell you, the entire aim behind us building an organization, as I said, with a motto of saving and assisting lives, right? Even though we are very early and not even 1% done, right, in terms of what we want to achieve. But in the next 5 years, or maybe it takes 10 years, or however long time it takes, the idea is that I hope one day people can associate with Medulance. As I said, they should have a top of mind recall and associate our organization with high quality pre-hospital care, right? And know that once they call on a particular number, they would get help. And I think that kind of satisfaction, if we could build that as an organization, would is everything that we're trying to achieve or would want to achieve.
Yes, we wish you all the best to you and your company, and we really hope that
Thank you.
you fulfill all your endeavors. Now, moving on to the last question that we have, uh,
Yes.
we would like to know some advice that you would like to give to our students. And from the perspective of an entrepreneur, like there are students who wish to build their own organizations from scratch. So, what piece of advice would you like to give to them?
I think everyone keeps talking about courage needed to start up, right? And which is very important. But I don't think courage is needed to start up. It is very important to have that courage when things are not going right for you, right? What I mean by that is something on the lines of the fact that when things are not going right for you, there are a lot of ifs and buts, should has and would has that come to your mind, right? And a lot of negative thoughts around it. I think that is the time when everyone should remain focused, committed, right, to what they were trying to achieve in solving the problem. And I personally relate to this because there was a time when we as an organization were going through a bad phase. Our revenue was not growing. Taking a personal example here, I think that's when it is very important, as I said before, also to have the right support system, a motivated co-founder at times, and even friends and family to support you. And people who are looking at innovating or doing new things, I feel that a breakthrough or any innovation, right, always helps in improving the affordability, accessibility, and like of any service, right? But for the breakthrough to be truly great, it needs to be, I would say, equitable, replicable, and also sustainable to ensure that you keep on going on with the business that you wanted to set out to.
Thank you so much for that advice, and I really hope that all our listeners they actually take this into consideration and become successful in their own entrepreneurial ventures. That brings us to the end of this interview. Thank you so much for giving us such insightful answers, and we thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule and attending this interview. Really looking forward to connecting with you in future as well, and all the best to you and your company. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Manvi, and thank you to the entire team and the placement cell at SRCC. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Stay safe.